Hey guys, welcome back. So many of you have pointed out to me the recent Al Jazeera video about locked up in Malaysia's lockdown and pointed out that it's so many false information. And so this is a topic that I'm really passionate about because it frustrates me when people point out so many incorrect facts about Malaysia. So I really wanted to react to that video, but I decided, you know what? I'm not gonna give any more publicity to Al Jazeera. Like, there's no point in doing that. So I discovered that the other side of the truth channel, which usually reports facts and truths, have actually pointed out really important facts about that video. We haven't watched it yet, but we want to react to that video right now. So let's just jump into it.
This is a recent video that was published, and unfortunately, it has so many mistakes. And so we're going to pick the top 15 to cover today. Number 15, taking videos and footages of police and military.
I've got my ID. Look, this is my ID. I'm from the press. Yeah.
This lockdown area, no camera, please.
But we're within our rights to report from here.
Oh, yeah. But this lockdown area.
Throughout the entire world, you really can't be taking footage of police and military. So many countries, that's illegal. Even in the United States, if you took video footage of the security around the White House, that could get you thrown in jail. Well, Al Jazeera thinks that because they're reporters, they're above everybody else. Number 14, complaining that they weren't allowed into high-risk areas of COVID-19.
We're not allowed inside these fenced-off areas.
Now, I don't know if they don't realize how COVID-19 works. It spreads pretty easily, and so if they were able to go into an area that was high risk, they could easily pick up COVID-19, especially when you look at the video footage and realize that lots of times they weren't wearing a mask, or they only were wearing a mask. I mean, look at how many doctors who were completely prepared, had tons of protection, picked up COVID-19. Number 13, blocking comments. You need to always allow comments, but in this video, they've blocked all comments on YouTube. You need to allow people to be able to point out when you don't do things that are accurate or when you do things really biased. But if you don't allow comments, people can't point those out. And I just think as a reporter, it's so unprofessional to block comments. I really don't think YouTube should allow that. Number 12, complaining that the government...
So that in itself shows that, you know, they're already not being truthful to themselves. Like, a proper reporting channel should embody what they call freedom of speech, meaning that they should allow all voice to be heard. But if they are blocking comments in their own video, that already shows that
there's something to hide.
There's something to hide, exactly.
I love the point where he talks about they complained that they weren't allowed to high risk COVID-19 areas.
Yeah, like obviously you're not allowed into that. It's one of the most contagious places right now, and you only want very few skilled, certified people to be in there, and not just anyone, especially a reporter.
And like you talked about too, doctors who are supposed to be there, who have all the, PPE and everything, have been around COVID-19 patients and have still caught COVID.
Yeah, exactly. And remember, he wasn't even wearing a mask, which is one of the first most important thing to do in this whole pandemic.
The simplest thing to do.
The simplest thing to stop the spread.
Oh my goodness.
Government never responded.
Several requests to interview the senior minister, home minister, and his deputies were declined.
All right, Mr. Drew Ambrose. Well, the government's a little bit busy. They're fighting this thing called COVID-19, which is extremely deadly and spreads super easy. And sorry, they probably didn't have time to answer every single question you had because they're busy fighting the disease. So please, man, get off your high horse. Not everybody can take time out of their life to serve you. Right, dude? Like, have a reality check. Number 11, forgetting how racism works.
Is this the practical reality of dealing with a pandemic? Or is it racism?
Okay, if you're not aware, racism was mentioned multiple times in the video. How racism works is where you judge a group of people based on their skin color. And in this instance, it would be people of Indian descent or people that look Indian.
Yep.
And if you're not aware, there are multiple Malaysians, actually over 7% of Malaysians are of Indian descent. They look exactly like migrant workers that are both legal and illegal. So if the Malaysian government was racist, they would be targeting anybody that looked Indian, Bangladeshi, or Pakistani. But the Malaysian government specifically was doing things for illegal immigrants. And anyone that was of Indian descent that was Malaysian, they were fine. They had no complaints. So this is clearly not a racism issue. This is an illegal immigration issue. And those are different things. To call it racism is just completely wrong and out of place. Number 10, ignoring countries that are extremely racist towards their migrant workers. I've traveled all around the world and I have several friends that are migrant workers, and there are several places where I discovered that people were very racist towards migrant workers. And actually in Malaysia, migrant workers are treated better than almost anywhere else in the world. Here, locals of a different country call legal migrant workers lazy, messy, unhygienic. Number 9, treating illegal migrant workers like they're all victims. Illegal migrant workers have specifically not obeyed the law and are working illegally. Even in your own video, you have a human rights lawyer, somebody that really supports undocumented illegal migrant workers, and she points out that this illegal migrant worker didn't do anything and that she can't really support him because he put in no effort to try to be legal.
Okay, did he attempt to go to the Labour Department to file a case against his employer?
And throughout this video, you often show that they are victims when they could have just put in some effort to make sure that they obeyed the law and got a working visa. Number 8, saying the jobs that migrant workers are working, Malaysians don't want to work. And it's probably true. There are several jobs that Malaysians would prefer that migrant workers did. But in the video, you show how there used to be 60 jobs at the market that migrant workers worked. And when they set out applications, they had over 500 Malaysians apply for that job. So clearly, in this job, Malaysians wanted to work it, but their jobs were taken by migrant workers.
Mohammed ran a recruitment drive to replace the foreign workers with locals. 500 Malaysians applied for just 60 positions.
Number 7, never acknowledging that illegal migrant workers put the entire country at huge risk for COVID-19. See, illegal migrant workers are working illegally. It's in the name. And because they're working illegally, they're not registered. The government doesn't even know if they're probably in the country or where they live or who they work for, and there's no way to track them. And so with COVID, it's so important to track and trace everybody that gets COVID. For example, look at what China did and what Taiwan did and what South Korea did and Japan. All these countries that were extremely good at fighting COVID-19 were able to track everybody in their country and who had it and who didn't. But when you have 4 million illegal immigrants and there's no way to trace them, you're putting your entire country at huge risk. And putting this in the video is so important because then people can kind of understand why the Malaysian government might be trying to figure out who's illegal in Malaysia, because it affects the safety of all Malaysians. Number 6.
So yeah, that is an absolutely important point, because what we need to understand is we are at a war against COVID, and what that video was trying to point out was how poorly we are treating illegal immigrants. That's not the point here. The point is we are fighting against COVID, and yes, there are a lot of illegal immigrants, and Malaysia, for the most part, has always been known as the country to care for illegal immigrants, to do their best to even provide shelter, provide food, and provide so many things for them. And so now, you're taking a different course of action. They can't do those things because we are in a different fight. We are fighting against COVID. So we have to take action against people who are undocumented, who are illegal, because this is the only way we can curb the spread of COVID. And if no action is done, that is going to just cause more deaths. It's going to cause more cases.
Yeah, like you said, it's a war against COVID. It's not a war against illegal migrant workers. It's not like just out of the blue they're randomly targeting illegal migrant workers. It has a purpose, and they're trying to be able to trace back. And even it showed in the video, the human rights lawyer is saying, like, I want to help with this, but if you're putting in any effort, you need to actually help me help you.
Yeah. And if you think about it, like, this would have been reported any time. Way before this. Why is this being reported right now? Why are they accusing Malaysia of treating illegal immigrants not the way they're supposed to be? It's because of COVID. We are fighting against COVID, and we have to take appropriate action to fight against COVID for the best of everyone. It's a responsibility that Malaysians have. Remember our phrase, kita jaga kita. Sorry guys, I'm just a little emotional about this whole topic, so forgive me if I sound really harsh.
Acting like sitting in the sun and getting questioned about if you're legally working in Malaysia is like the worst thing in the world.
He says his whole family, including his son and daughter, were handcuffed and chained together with other children and the elderly under the hot sun. They were only released hours later after authorities verified their documents.
All right, right now COVID-19 is happening. There are so many children around the world that are losing parents to COVID-19 and are going to be raised without their father or mother. And you are upset that a daughter had to sit out in the sun? I mean, if this is the worst thing that happens in your COVID-19 experience, you are very blessed because so many people around the world would give anything to be able to sit out in the sun a few hours and know that their country is safe. Number 5, forgetting that everybody is going through a really hard time right now. It's not just the illegal migrant workers or the migrant workers. Malaysians as well are going through a hard time. So many Malaysians have lost their job. So many Malaysians are struggling right now. And to focus that the only people struggling are illegal migrant workers and migrant workers is unfair. Everybody is going through a hard time. Number 4, being very misleading and not always honest. For example, handcuffing children. I really don't think this happened. Do you have any footage? Do you have any proof? Do you have anything more than 1 or 2 people saying it happened? And regardless, if children are handcuffed, I mean, it's not the end of the day. It doesn't hurt them. Oh, big deal. I mean, come on. I'm a dentist. I have to treat kids' teeth all the time. That's way worse and way more painful than getting handcuffed. But I do it because it's for the good of the kid overall. So just because something's inconvenient or unpleasant, not everybody lives in a fairy tale land. But regardless, I think that was pretty inaccurate. You also use multiple selective examples. You purposely pick stories and try to show things that made Malaysia look bad. I mean, you look at the end of the video, you purposely pick a mother with a child. Come on, that was set up. You didn't pick a 50-year-old man, you picked a mother with a child. Many Malaysians, especially doctors and nurses, have risked their lives treating COVID-19 positive patients that were illegal immigrants. These illegal immigrants got free care, free food, free clothing, free toiletries, and everything was provided to them. And this makes you wonder how many other things were inaccurate in this video. Number 3, mix it up.
So yeah, I want to really talk about the kids issue, like handcuffing them. First of all, absolutely no proof. Secondly, I was born and raised in Malaysia and I lived there for 24 years of my life. Malaysia is not a country. I know the people in Malaysia. We have bad apples everywhere. There are bad people anywhere you go. But it is absolutely not part of Malaysian culture to treat children that way. It's absolutely inaccurate.
I mean, even bringing our own son to Malaysia a couple times now, he is treated so much better.
So much better.
Even through immigration, through all assistance there.
Yeah.
You know, we had to take him to one of the government buildings and he was treated wonderfully. Like, it's the priority is placed on the children.
Yes, the culture, and there is a huge culture in Malaysia where priority is given to children and people in need. And so to say that, oh, the children were handcuffed, show us the proof.
Oh man, and he even talks about like people complaining about being in the hot sun. Like, that is such a small concern compared to losing your life over this pandemic.
If my son, my own son, had to be sitting in the hot sun so that hundreds, if not thousands of people can be safe from COVID and not die, so be it. I don't mind. I will put my son out there.
Legal and illegal migrant workers. Hey, listen to this.
And anti-immigration Facebook groups have been telling illegal migrants to go home.
Did you catch it? One word changes the entire structure of the sentence, and that's how media can be very misleading. He says anti-immigration Facebook group, but the page he's showing is an anti-illegal immigration Facebook group. And there's a big difference between anti-immigration and anti-illegal immigration.
101 East investigates why so many foreigners are being locked up in Malaysia's lockdown.
Even in the intro summary, you got it wrong. You're not investigating foreigners, all foreigners. No, you're investigating illegal foreigners. You need to say the word illegal. Number 2, completely not understanding how you fight COVID-19.
Authorities have been carrying out military-style operations across the capital, Kuala Lumpur.
COVID-19 is a time where you need to be strict.
Yes.
You can't allow people moving all around. You need to be very, very strict because if one person with COVID-19 moves and goes about, they can easily spread it to so many more people. And so COVID-19 is a time that you need to have a military-style lockdown because that's the only thing that works. It worked in Taiwan, it worked in Hong Kong, it worked in China, it worked in South Korea, and it also worked in Malaysia. And in this video, you make it sound like a military-style lockdown is a bad thing. No, that is an amazingly good thing. And the USA and many other countries in the Americas have not done that, and look at the results. Wouldn't you rather have a little bit of a military-style lockdown and save thousands of lives? I think most people would be in favor of that. Number one, never saying the good things about Malaysia. Malaysia is an incredible success story. I would recommend you check out this video or this video. Trust me, they're well done, and the person that made them is pretty cool. Anyway, regardless, Malaysia did such an amazing job. I mean, it was amazing to see how people from all different backgrounds, famous and average citizens, all came together for the good of Malaysia. And I think that's really important to talk about in this video when you're going to be talking about COVID-19. And that was completely ignored, and completely wrong to ignore that in making this video. So those were my top 15 things that were mistakes in Malaysia's lockdown video. Did I miss anything? Let me know in the comments, and don't worry, I will keep comments on. And on a personal note, I'm just really, I guess, disappointed that a major media source would basically make things that were very biased, very inaccurate, and not do the proper research, and not even really understand how COVID-19 works. Because many of the things that actually help prevent COVID-19, they said were wrong. And if you look at the data and results, obviously it's working in Malaysia and it's working in other Asian countries. And so at a time when people are really suffering and dying, you shouldn't be picking out because some people had to sit out in the sun or were uncomfortable. Let's look at the bigger results. Lives were saved. And if a few people had to be uncomfortable to save a few lives, I think it was definitely worth it.
I am so glad the other side of the truth channel actually pointed all these facts out. It could not have done any better job than that. I'm so glad I didn't react to that video, I'm reacting to this video because he's done a fantastic job. And I really hope this video goes more viral and gets more popular and more views. So what frustrated me so much is that Al Jazeera is picking out stories and crafting their own story about how Malaysia is not doing a good job in dealing with illegal immigrants. They're missing the whole point about it is a fight against COVID. Malaysia, first and foremost, is being underreported about the success in how they fought against COVID. We recently read so much news about how New Zealand and how Korea and Taiwan were doing amazing job. And I'm so proud actually to say that Malaysia is doing a good, if not better job than these countries, which is awesome. And I'm glad that all these countries are doing it. But it's so clear that Al Jazeera was picking out all the stories so they can craft and get millions and millions of views on something so controversial when it's actually a lie.
And it's so crazy. Like, they talk about things like the military lockdown in Malaysia, like it's the most horrific thing. Honestly, living here in America right now and seeing people take shelter in place so lightly, people taking wearing masks in public so lightly, I wish there was more authority taken. I wish there was stronger guidelines in place because I don't want to stay inside my house for the rest of our lives, it feels like at this point, right? I want to be able to go out. We're watching our friends in Malaysia on Instagram, on Facebook, that they're able to go out and eat, they're able to go back to work, they're able to do all these things, and you know, we're still just sheltering in place here.
And what he said was so true. We here living in the US, they did not do any sort of strict military style lockdown. And we are suffering because of that. They recently lifted some restrictions and cases shot back up. And so guess what happened? Everything is closed down again and we are restricted back again. And we're still going through a shelter in place or an MCO here again. Why? Because there wasn't a military style lockdown, there wasn't strict enough. People were going against the rules. So guys, it's so frustrating, but I'm so glad there are channels out there like The Other Side of the Truth pointing out the truths in Malaysia, the success story in Malaysia, and pointing out the falseness of a news channel like the Al Jazeera's news on Malaysia's lockdown.
Thank you so much for joining us today. We are really passionate about this and we really want the facts to be known about what's going on in Malaysia and for all the misleading and false information to be exposed from news sources like Al Jazeera. So please, let's make this known. Go ahead and share this video with everyone you know. And if you haven't done so already, please leave a comment below, as well as subscribe to our channel, as well as go over to the Other Side of the Truth channel and show it love and support as well. Guys, thank you so much for watching.
Yeah, we hope to see you in the next one. Malaysia pasti boleh.